Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning to all of you. My name is Muhamad Azim bin Abdul Ghaffar. Today I'll be presenting my research paper entitled Political Connection and Firm Performance, Evidence from Non-Financial Sharia Compliant Firms in Malaysia. To begin with this presentation, let us look at my presentation outlines. These are the things that I'll be sharing with all of you in this video. Moving on to the second topic of my presentation, the performance of a firm is affected by a variety of internal and external aspects. The example of internal aspects of the firm performance are management, decision making and policy. And for the external aspect of the firm performance are political connection, socio-economic and disaster. Phase U in this study categorized political connection into two. The first one is direct connection, which is firms that are connected through politically connected boards of directors, businessmen, friends or family of the top official. The second one is indirect connection, which is if a relative with the same last name as the head of a state or minister, or if a large shareholder. This study that has been conducted may be contributed in two ways. The first contribution is the use of new population and sample. Next, the variable selection techniques in this study is differ from previous researcher, which is it has been selected based on their significance in specific theory, policy or both. For dependent variables, return on asset is used in this research. As for the independent variable, political connection, liquidity, leverage, efficiency and growth are used. The analysis of prior research on this topic leads to discovery of two issues. First, with regards to the research on political connection and firm performance, even though this topic is important, few studies had been conducted on this topic. The review of empirical research done by Shafi'i at 2017 shows that the main research concentrates on the non-Sharia compliant firms, whereas Sharia compliant have found less attention in the literature. Thus, lack of research in this area has necessitated the need for this research. We suggest that the findings of prior research cannot be extended to this sample of companies due to nature of the firms. This study will allow us to determine if the characteristic of the business Sharia compliant firms will influence their performance. Related to the first issue is the choice of proxy for political connection and firm performance. Political connection is one of the variables that's suitable to be used in this study. For the firm performance studies is written on assets because it is an indicator that extensively used by investor to gauge company firm performance. This research is aiming to provide empirical evidence on the political connection and firm performance for Sharia compliant firm listed under the trading and services company. These are the objectives of this research. First is to examine the relationship of firm performance and political connections. Second is to determine the most significant variable affecting the firm performance. Next, let us move on to the research methodology section. Following the literature, this study will use return on asset as the proxy for the firm performance. 180 firms are identified in the initial sample. After the filtering process, 20 companies have been selected as the final sample for this research. It consists 13 politically connected firms and 7 not politically connected firms. In terms of measurement timeline, this study will be focusing on data of company for recent year, which is ranging from 2014 until 2020. As for the variables included in the study, to remain consistent with previous study, measures pertaining to dependent and independent variables were taken from reviewing previous studies. For dependent variables, we use return on asset as the proxy of firm performance. And for independent variable, we use political connection, liquidity, leverage, efficiency and growth. This research specifies and estimates the following regression model for all firms included in the study. The following model specification shows is firm performance equal to political connection, liquidity, efficiency, leverage and growth. Altogether, 20 companies has been analysed. To achieve the objective of this research, the following data analysis steps are followed. The first step is involve the collection of all relevant data required for the study. The second step is to determine the most optimal combination of predictors by using starter comment and vselect. The third step is to choose the most appropriate panel data estimator. The fourth and the fifth step is to perform the diagnostic test and to decide the correct strategy to rectify the problems, if any. Now, let us look at the summary of the findings for the first objective of this study. The first objective of this research is aiming to provide empirical evidence on the political connection and firm performance for Sharia compliant firms listed under the Trading and Services Company. The following are the important findings of this research. First, this study used return on asset as a proxy for the firm performance. We investigate the determinants of firm performance for the politically connected Sharia compliant firms listed under the trading and services sector. The sample consists of 20 companies. Next, to determine the most optimal combination of predictors. In this research, following the suggestion by Yang, the 4 predictor model is chosen. The chosen variable is efficiency, current ratio, quick ratio and political connection. The third step is to choose the most appropriate panel data estimator. As you can see in this table, random effect technique is the most appropriate model estimator. Therefore, for the subsequent section, the analysis and discussion on the firm-specific determinants of firm performance are based on the result of RE model. Fourth, to rectify the problems, following the suggestion by Hockler, remedial procedure has been carried out by using random effect GLS regression with robust option. Lastly, the adjusted R-square of 0.3624 suggests that the 4 independent variables explain 36.24% of the variance in the firm performance. The result of the regression also suggests political connection is the only variable found to have significant relationship with the firm performance. Liquidity ratios, which is current ratio and quick ratio, do not appear to be significantly related to the firm performance. The uniqueness of this study that had been found there is negative relationship between political connection and firm performance. One of the reasons that had been studied by you that conducted research on the acquisition of financial subsidies and discovered that financial subsidies obtained by private enterprises with political connections to local governments had a negative correlation with firm performance, whereas financial subsidies obtained by private enterprises without political connections had positive correlation with firm performance. The last section of my presentation will be on limitations and recommendations. While this research has produced interesting findings and contributions to the existing literature, it has several limitations which can be regarded as a starting point for future research. First is the scope of the study. The research was conducted within the specific definition of political connections and firm performance. As a result, it is uncertain whether the findings can be applied more broadly to other countries. The second is the accessibility of data has allowed this thesis to conduct this research for the political connected Sharia compliant firms in Malaysia. However, there is no comparative study has been carried out to compare whether performance of the firms that politically connected the same level of profitable. Next is considering the various diagnostic tests that have been conducted and the remedial procedure undertaken. This thesis may say that there is enough evidence to conclude that the examined statistical test satisfies the key assumption of linear regression. Moreover, further researchers should extend and investigate the effects of other factors or use alternative proxies of variables. For example, academic investigations on political connections and firm performance can also be expanded to investigating the political connection through family members of government leader. 3, 2, 1. Before I end my presentation, I would like to take this opportunity to inform all of you that I have made several corrections on the thesis that I've been submitted. I have attached the list of corrections that I made with the PowerPoint slides. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for kind attention.